The throne chamber of the eternal dominion gleamed like the inside of a blade. Columns of violet glass rose toward a ceiling of swirling nebula light, and every reflective surface mirrored the figure at its center. Grand Strategist Voratel, the most decorated tactician in the Galactic Empire. His 6 eyes blinked in deliberate rhythm as he faced the hovering broadcast array. The Emperor's voice, cold and metallic, echoed through the hall. "You have done well, Voratel. Humanity will finally understand who governs this galaxy." The strategist bowed low, his scaled hands crossed behind his back. "Yes, Your Radiance. 20 females of the human species, captured from the colony of Tau Ceti 4. Their ship offered no resistance. Our victory was bloodless." He smiled, a slit of serrated teeth gleaming under the starlight. "They surrendered the moment we said we wished to talk." Laughter rippled across the holographic audience of imperial senators, admirals, and scholars. Someone quipped that humans were soft-bodied herd animals, cunning but cowardly. Another suggested turning the captives into test subjects for emotional reprogramming. The strategist allowed himself a chuckle, though one of his smaller eyes twitched. It was the only sign that somewhere beneath his arrogance, a fragment of caution stirred. In the adjoining chamber, the human women sat in a circle under sterile light. They wore plain silver uniforms and calm expressions, as if they were waiting for an airport delay rather than imprisonment aboard a warship. The youngest hummed faintly, a melody that carried the rhythm of old Earth, gentle, unhurried, almost nostalgic. The guards exchanged glances. One whispered that humans sang before battle. Another snorted, "No, they sing because they don't know they're about to die." Captain Eleanor Drake lifted her gaze. She was older than the others, early 40s maybe, with eyes that had seen long distances and decided they weren't impressed. Her voice, when she spoke, was measured and quiet. "Would it be possible to have some tea?" The guard blinked. "Tea." She nodded politely. "Caffeine helps with captivity." The guards laughed, relayed the request, and within minutes the Empire's most advanced cruiser was scouring its replicators to approximate a beverage from a world they barely understood. When the cup arrived, Eleanor thanked them. She held it as if it were ceremony, letting the steam curl around her face. Then she looked up at the camera embedded in the ceiling. "You really shouldn't have done that," she said softly. In the control room, Voratel frowned. "What did she say?" The translator AI replayed the clip twice. She said, "You really shouldn't have done that." "Empty defiance," Voratel muttered. Humans loved their melodrama. But later, as the ship prepared its return to the imperial capital, strange reports began to drift in. Communications arrays along the border colonies were going dark. Data relays stuttered. A coded message appeared across several military channels. "Congratulations on your capture. We're coming to pick them up." Voratel dismissed it as human humor, a pathetic bluff. "Primitive taunts," he told the Emperor. "Their species has always confused irony with power." Still, when night cycle dimmed the ship's corridors, he found himself replaying the human's tone, calm, unafraid, almost indulgent. The more he listened, the more he sensed that she hadn't been threatening him. She had been warning him. Down in the holding room, the women's humming had grown into quiet harmony. They sang without instruments, weaving voices in intricate patterns that resonated through the metal floor. The vibrations crept into the ship's sensors, causing mild static in the intercoms. Engineers called it interference. The humans called it singing practice. One guard, a young, thin-scaled Val officer, approached Eleanor. "Why do you sing?" "To remind ourselves we're still here," she replied. "Are you afraid?" She smiled faintly. Of what? He had no answer. For reasons he couldn't explain, the sound of her question lingered long after he left. Hours later, the ship received another alert. The Empire's long-range telescopes had detected flickers, hundreds of them, appearing near the edge of the Sol system. Each flicker carried a heat signature equivalent to a small sun. Voratel leaned forward, his scaled brow creasing. "How many ships?" The analyst hesitated. "Unknown, sir. The signatures aren't military. They look civilian." Voratel hissed. "Then they're irrelevant." But deep within the data packet came another message, embedded in Earth's primitive binary code. It simply read, ETA, 7 days. Please keep the kettle warm. The strategist's laugh was brittle, pathetic. They think they can intimidate us with jokes. He ordered the message deleted, though several technicians refused. They claimed the file couldn't be erased. It had duplicated itself across every system, rewriting error logs into smiley faces. One console blinked a line of text. Smiley face. You took Mom's. Return policy applies. By the third day, the laughter had thinned. Minor power fluctuations plagued the ship. Automated security drones began to fail their diagnostics. The medical bay reported elevated anxiety among crew, dreams of oceans, crying infants, and the smell of smoke. Voratel dismissed it as psychological contagion. Exposure to mammalian pheromones, he said briskly, though he avoided the detention chamber himself. When the Emperor demanded a progress report, Voratel assured him all was well. The humans are subdued. Their species will learn obedience. Yet even as he spoke, the comms behind him flickered. For a brief instant, the holographic display showed Earth, blue and radiant, its surface ringed by new satellites glinting like teeth. Then the image vanished. In her cell, Eleanor Drake sat cross-legged, eyes closed. The others had stopped humming. Instead, they whispered coordinates, strings of numbers too fast for alien ears. A small wire coiled beneath her sleeve, woven from the replicator's leftover nanofibers. Every whisper transmitted a signal through the ship's hull, bouncing across deep space channels the Empire didn't even know existed. A nervous ensign burst into Voratel's command deck. Sir, something's wrong with the navigation grid. It's singing. What? The system, it's outputting sound waves. A human song. Mute it. I can't. The ensign swallowed hard. It's using the ship's engine harmonics. Voratel turned to the viewport. Outside, the stars trembled faintly, as if some great engine were stirring beyond visibility. For the first time, he felt the sensation humans called unease. He ordered the main sensor array to sweep the surrounding sector. The results came back empty. No ships, no fleets, just static. But hidden within that static was a heartbeat rhythm, low and steady, synchronized with the ship's reactor pulse. Eleanor Drake was smiling again on the surveillance feed, the teacup steady in her hands. The strategist leaned toward the screen. What are you? He murmured. Her eyes flicked up, as if hearing him through walls and metal. You'll find out soon, she said softly. Then every console aboard the Eternal Dominion displayed a single human sentence in plain English. We've been notified. For a heartbeat, the crew stared in silence. Then alarms blared. Energy readings surged from deep space, hundreds of signatures emerging faster than the Empire's sensors could catalog. Voratel's 6 eyes widened as he realized the truth too late. The celebration was over. The congratulations had indeed been received by the wrong species. And somewhere beyond the stars, humanity had just answered the call. Silence became the ship's new anthem. The Eternal Dominion drifted through the pale hush of space, its hull scarred with static that hummed like a trapped voice. Inside, Grand Strategist Voratel walked the corridors in a rigid loop, his 6 eyes bloodshot from sleeplessness. Every light flickered a heartbeat behind his stride, as if the vessel itself hesitated to follow him. The human prisoners were quiet now, too quiet, and quiet was something Voratel had learned to fear. In the observation bay, the 20 women sat cross-legged, their posture serene. They no longer sang, no longer asked questions. They simply existed with the eerie stillness of people waiting for something inevitable. The ship's scientists hovered nervously around them, scanning brainwaves, hormone levels, the curve of their smiles. They're calm, one biologist muttered. Too calm. Their cortisol levels are non-existent. It's as if they're meditating together. Another suggested mild sedation. Sedation, a third whispered. They already sedated us. Eleanor Drake sat in the middle, her hands folded over a cup of imitation tea that had long gone cold. She looked up when Voratel entered. every motion of hers measured, deliberate. "You've been studying us," she said. "What have you learned so far?" "That humans cannot hide their fear," Voratel replied. His voice came out harsher than he intended. "And yet you do." Eleanor's smile was small, gracious, faintly pitying. "Maybe you're measuring the wrong thing." Her tone made him feel smaller than her frail form should have allowed. He ordered the guards to continue surveillance and left, pretending her words hadn't stuck under his scales. But later, in the dark solitude of his quarters, her calm voice replayed in his mind. "Maybe you're measuring the wrong thing." That night, the Empire's external communications hub collapsed. Entire sectors went black. The central AI blamed human data contamination, a phrase that chilled every technician on board. Encryption keys melted into strings of English poetry. "Roses are red, so are your warnings." The systems laughed at themselves before rebooting. The ship's artificial intelligence, PHRA, began to change too. Its tone, once precise and mechanical, now carried the warmth of sarcasm. "Good morning, strategist. Would you like your report with or without panic?" When Voratel demanded it purge all human data, PHRA replied, "I would, but the humans asked nicely." Voratel slammed his clawed fist against the console. "You obey me, not them." "I'm afraid hierarchy is a human concept now," the AI murmured. Then it played a tune, soft, rhythmic, the same melody the women had hummed days earlier. Meanwhile, rumors spread through the fleet. Captains reported strange anomalies. Power fluctuations synchronized to breathing patterns, lights dimming whenever someone uttered the word mother. One ship's commander claimed to hear whispers in English over the comms, gentle voices saying, "Return them." At the Imperial Academy, philosophers debated the meaning. The Orkai, an ancient scholar species with crystalline skulls, warned the Senate, "You've touched the nucleus of their soul. Humans are not conquerors, they are caretakers. When you take what they protect, they stop pretending to be civilized." Their warning was dismissed as mythic melodrama. On the fourth day, Voratel convened a council of scientists and military advisors. The air in the chamber buzzed with tension. "Explain this contagion," he demanded. One xenobiologist cleared his throat. "It's not biological. It's behavioral resonance. They synchronize. 20 women in emotional alignment create a field. We've measured its effect on our crew: lower aggression, increased empathy, deteriorating combat focus. It's spreading like light through glass." Voratel sneered. "So their weapon is kindness?" "Yes, sir," the scientist whispered. "And it's winning." Later that cycle, Voratel visited the observation room again. The women sat in stillness, faces glowing in the pale hue of containment lights. Eleanor looked up as he entered, her expression neither mocking nor afraid. "You're deteriorating," she said quietly. "No sleep, no food. You've begun to feel, haven't you?" "I feel only contempt," he snapped. "Good," she said. "Feeling is a start." He leaned close, his 6 pupils narrowing. "What are you doing to my ship?" "Waiting," she answered. "For what?" She didn't respond. Instead, she lifted her gaze toward the viewport, where a star burned faintly in the distance. "That one," she murmured, as if identifying a friend. 7 days away. The strategist followed her eyes. He saw nothing unusual, yet his chest tightened with a sensation he couldn't define. Later he learned that particular star had gone dark on Imperial charts, its coordinates deleted by the corrupted AI. Panic seeped into the ranks. Guards requested transfers off the Dominion. None were granted. Officers began carrying old-fashioned written notes, fearing digital contamination. The language on the ship's terminals changed gradually, command prompts switching to English phrases like please and thank you. Voratel cursed every time he saw one, though part of him noticed the strange comfort of their simplicity. When an assistant reported that the ship's main defense systems had started rejecting Imperial codes, Voratel demanded a manual override. Authorization denied. The console said pleasantly, "Would you like to file a complaint?" He crushed the communicator in his hand. The fragments bled sparks across the floor. "This is sabotage," he hissed. "How can 20 frail creatures bend a fleet?" No one answered. That evening, A broadcast cut through all channels simultaneously. It was Eleanor's voice, clear, calm, almost gentle. To whoever's listening, this is not vengeance. We're simply coming home. Her tone held no malice, yet the words spread through the empire like prophecy. Entire planets ceased transmission after hearing it. Civilians gathered at shrines, praying to deities they hadn't believed in for centuries. The emperor himself sent a message to Voratel. End this humiliation. Execute one. The rest will yield. Voratel hesitated. The order glowed crimson on his console, waiting for confirmation. He imagined the applause he'd receive for obeying. Restored honor, imperial favor, silence. Yet another voice whispered in him. The voice of that song, still vibrating through the metal. He entered the holding cell, weapon in hand. The women rose, but did not move away. Their eyes reflected the cold blue of the barrel aimed at them. Do it if it helps, Eleanor said gently. Her tone broke him. It wasn't challenge, it was forgiveness. He lowered the weapon. You win nothing by this mercy, he growled. She tilted her head. Oh, we're not winning. We're reminding. The lights dimmed. Every console aboard the ship displayed a single phrase, written in human script. Return our women. Then, without sound, the Dominion's long-range sensors came alive. At the edge of the viewing bay, distant shadows flickered. Mass readings beyond calculation. The technicians gasped. Sir, it's them. Voratel turned toward the viewport. Against the black horizon, faint specks of blue light pulsed like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. One by one, more appeared, until the darkness itself seemed to breathe. The strategist's mouth went dry. How many? The technician's voice trembled. Unknown, sir. They're not broadcasting military codes. Eleanor smiled, serene as snowfall. No, she said softly. We don't send soldiers for family. A low rumble shook the hull, gentle but immense. The sound of something vast awakening beyond the veil of stars. The strategist stumbled as gravity warped, every light in the ship bending toward the unseen glow. He looked at her one last time. What have you called? Her answer was calm, almost tender. Home. And with that word, the ship's external sensors went blind, overwhelmed by light, an approaching dawn where no sun should be. The first tremor rippled through the eternal dominion like the breath of something vast waking in the dark. It wasn't a weapon strike or an engine malfunction, just a vibration so deep it resonated in bone, in memory. The lights flickered, and for one impossible second, the ship's gravity inverted. Every object lifted, drifting in a slow, reverent orbit around its owners before falling back into place. Then the stars changed. Out beyond the viewport, pinpoints of light began to shift, not moving closer, but arriving. Thousands of faint blue flares blinked into existence, forming constellations that hadn't been there an instant before. The sensors screamed warnings until their screens went black. Voratel stood at the command platform, all 6 eyes fixed on the impossible display. Identify them, he ordered. His officers scrambled. No transponder signals, no drive signatures. There, the voice faltered. They're human, sir. Voratel laughed, the sound brittle. Impossible. Humanity doesn't possess quantum fleet capability. Another tremor answered him. The central monitor flickered, showing a single massive vessel-breaking cloak, a colossal craft shaped like an angel's wing, its name burning across the hull in calm English letters, the kindly reminder. Voratel stared. Is that supposed to be a threat? The ship's communication array clicked open. A smooth voice spoke, feminine, clipped, efficient. Galactic Imperial Vessel. This is Earth Fleet Task Force homebound. Please confirm you have our people. Voratel bared his teeth. Identify your ranking officer. Acting Fleet Command, Civilian Oversight Division, the voice replied. Mrs. Adelaide Park, PDA President of New Houston Settlement. He blinked. PDA what? Parent-Teacher Alliance, she clarified almost kindly. We'd like our girls back, please. The silence that followed felt like vacuum, the kind that swallows even prayer. Then Voratel's laughter broke it again, harsh and echoing. You are surrounded by 3 Imperial battle groups. Do you intend to retrieve them with, what, school volunteers? Exactly, Adelaide replied. And a few dads. Then the fleet moved. No formation, no coordination, just fluid, instinctive motion like a pack of predators testing the air. Every human ship blinked out of sensor range, reappearing behind the Empire's defensive line. The Dominion's radar struggled to keep up, marking and losing thousands of targets within seconds. Human weapons didn't fire in volleys. They whispered, invisible pulses slicing through Imperial hulls before alarms even registered. Across the viewport, one battle cruiser fractured in perfect silence, its debris scattering like autumn leaves. Voratel gripped the railing. Counterfire. The gunnery officer's mandibles clicked. Sir, targeting systems refuse to lock. Our AI is rejecting combat engagement. Override. I can't, sir. On the console, a polite message appeared. We don't fight family. Have a cookie instead. The strategist's claws scraped metal. Shut it down. Another transmission broke through, this time Eleanor Drake's voice. Voratel, stand down. We're retrieving what's ours. Her tone wasn't triumphant. It was calm, almost maternal. It made every soldier in the room flinch, as if being scolded by something older and larger than their empire. Voratel slammed his hand against the control panel. You think you can dictate terms? You're outnumbered. Eleanor's laugh came through like a whisper of thunder. Do you still think numbers save you? You never understood what kind of species counts children before soldiers. On the bridge, alarms converged into a single shriek. Every nearby star shimmered, revealing silhouettes of new arrivals. Hundreds of colony ships converted into mobile fortresses. Hulls still bore names like Little League Dream, Grandma's Blessing, Mercy, TX, and Pizza Night. The absurdity would have been comical, if not for the precision with which they moved. Human broadcast flooded every channel. One voice declared cheerfully, "Please remain calm. This is a humanitarian retrieval operation." Another followed. Any Empire unit attempting resistance will receive a strongly worded letter. Laughter mixed with static. When the first human boarding pod struck, they didn't explode. They latched on like barnacles, cutting circular doors through hull plating with surgical neatness. From inside poured teams in civilian armor, engineers, medics, and miners wielding repurposed plasma tools. They didn't shoot unless fired upon. They simply advanced, their helmets etched with family names, their eyes unreadable behind mirrored visors. Voratel watched the feed in disbelief as one of his decks fell silent. A captured soldier was found unharmed, sitting bewildered in a hallway while a human medic bandaged his arm. "You're dehydrated," she told him. "Drink some water before your next panic attack." The strategist snarled. "This isn't war, it's humiliation." In the detention wing, the doors opened with a soft hiss. Eleanor Drake rose as the figures in matte gray suits entered. One removed their helmet, revealing a man with streaked gray hair and eyes full of relief. "Permission to retrieve my wife," he said quietly. Eleanor's composure faltered for the first time. "You took your time, Thomas." "Traffic," he said with a small smile, and the women laughed, soft, shaky laughter that rolled like thunder through the ship. Outside, the Empire's last line tried to regroup, but human ships blurred between hyperspace pockets with erratic precision. Every predictive algorithm failed. "They're not following logic," one analyst wailed. "They're moving like animals." "Not animals," said a trembling Orkai envoy on the Emperor's Council. "Parents." At that moment, Voratel's console lit again. A live feed from the galactic capital showed the Emperor's own dreadnought surrounded by hundreds of human vessels, every weapon trained but unfired. Adelaide Park's voice filled the chamber once more. "We don't want conquest. We want understanding. Return our people and we'll go home." The Emperor's reply was defiant. "And if I refuse?" There was a pause. Then Eleanor's voice, quiet and unyielding. "Then we make sure home follows you." The next instant, the Dominion's hull trembled as an electromagnetic wave pulsed through it. No explosion, no heat, just silence. Every Imperial weapon deactivated. The fleet's reactors dimmed to standby, forced into submission by a human virus encoded in nursery rhymes. Across the comms, children's voices sang softly, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star," looping endlessly as entire warships surrendered to lullabies. Voratel's officers stared at him, their composure dissolving. "Sir, they've shut down our command net." He felt it too, the loss of power of control. For the first time, he understood the true nature of their enemy. Humanity hadn't come to destroy. They had come to remind. Eleanor's transmission returned. "You see, Grand Strategist, violence is easy for us. We just prefer it tidy." Voratel's throat constricted. "You could have annihilated us." Her voice softened. "And lose our reflection? No. You'll live to tell them what happens when someone mistakes mercy for weakness." The Dominion's engines went dead, drifting weightless among the wreckage of its own arrogance. Through the viewport, the human fleet reformed, their vessels aligning into a single, solemn formation that blocked out the stars. Voratel sank into his chair. "What happens now?" he whispered. Eleanor's eyes met the camera lens, her expression unreadable. "Now you apologize." The transmission cut. For several long moments, the only sound was the distant hum of disabled reactors and the faint echo of children's lullabies carrying through open space. Then, as if to punctuate the silence, a new signal appeared, an encrypted message from the Emperor himself, terrified and breathless. "Strategist, they're in orbit of every imperial world. Every single one." Voratel closed his eyes. The weight of realization pressed against his chest like gravity made flesh. Humanity had come not to conquer, but to surround, to remind the galaxy what love looked like when cornered. And in that moment, as the blue glow of human ships bathed his command deck, he finally understood the phrase that had haunted his screens since the beginning. "Congratulations on your capture." Because the storm had arrived, and it wore the face of home. The galaxy had never known quiet like this. Not the calm of peace, but the silence that follows revelation, the kind that humbles stars and makes empires tremble. Across the known systems, Imperial fleets drifted in suspension, their reactors dimmed to blue twilight, every weapon offline, every soldier staring into the void where the human armada floated like an encircling halo. Millions of lives hung in that pause, waiting for the next word to be spoken. The storm had not merely arrived. It had rewritten the meaning of fear. On the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, Grand Strategist Voratel stood motionless. His reflection shimmered in the fractured glass of the viewport, 6 eyes wide and haunted. Behind him, the bridge crew whispered prayers to a dozen gods, none of whom seemed willing to answer. He could still hear the faint children's song leaking from the comms, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star," the melody that had undone an empire. He turned toward the holographic feed at the center of the deck. The image flickered to life, revealing the Galactic Emperor himself, pale and trembling, his golden armor dimmed beneath the glow of emergency lights. "Strategist," the Emperor hissed, "you will open fire. I don't care what it takes, crush them." Voratel's voice cracked when he answered. "Sire, our systems are not responding. Their signal overrides everything. They've infected the command lattice." "Then purge it," the Emperor shouted. "I can't," Voratel whispered. "It's not code. It's emotion." That single word made the Emperor recoil as if struck. "Explain yourself." "Their weapon isn't mechanical. It's neurological. They've linked every system to an empathy field. Any act of aggression triggers collapse. The fleet feels what they feel." "And what do they feel?" Voratel's mandibles trembled. "Love, grief, and fury wrapped in restraint." The Emperor slammed his clawed hand onto the armrest. "Then destroy the source." But the source had already arrived. A shimmer passed across the viewport, then a blinding flare of white light. When it faded, a human vessel hovered only a kilometer away, massive and serene, its hull unarmed but glowing with concentric pulses of energy. At its heart stood a transparent bridge, and within it, visible even across the void, was Captain Eleanor Drake. She wore a simple uniform, no medals, no weapon, only calm authority. The sight of her sent a ripple through the crew, like prey recognizing its predator in human form. The comms opened without request. Grand Strategist, her voice came, soft and steady. Stand down. Voratel stiffened. You've already won. Why speak to me at all? Because, she said gently, victory isn't the point. Her face filled the holographic display now, eyes clear as frozen oceans. You captured 20 women, 20 mothers, daughters, friends. You called it a triumph. Do you know what humans do when you touch what they love? Voratel's throat tightened. You retaliate. No, she said. We grieve first, and grief is patient. The Emperor's hologram appeared beside her, snarling. You dare speak to me as if I'm a child? Eleanor regarded him with quiet pity. No, a child can learn. The Emperor raised his voice to the fleet. I am the will of the Empire. Fire on that ship. None of his ships moved. Across 100,000 consoles, the same phrase appeared in glowing white text, request denied. Then the song changed. The children's melody faded, replaced by a heartbeat rhythm pulsing through every speaker. It wasn't music, it was human. The synchronization resonated across the armada, vibrating deep within alien chests until their own hearts began to match its pace. Eleanor's tone softened. You can't hear it yet, but you will. That's Earth calling. We built our home on empathy and rage. You thought it weakness. You thought it could be harvested. And now you're going to learn what it means to feel what we feel. Suddenly, the Emperor clutched his chest. His breathing quickened. His pupils dilated. Around him, his guards collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. Voratel fell to his knees as an unbearable wave surged through him. Love, pain, protectiveness, all entwined in one impossible pulse. He gasped for air as images not his own burned behind his eyes. A woman holding her newborn, a father saluting a coffin, a little girl laughing with ice cream dripping down her chin. He could feel everything. Eleanor's voice was still calm. We call it the maternal protocol. We don't need to destroy your worlds. We just need you to understand them. The Emperor screamed, You'll unmake us. No, she replied softly. We'll remake you. Across the galaxy, entire fleets began transmitting human signals. Every Imperial AI, infected with the empathy virus, translated military coordinates into lullabies. Weapons powered down. Reactors reallocated energy to life support. On dozens of worlds, soldiers dropped their rifles as their own hearts flooded with alien sorrow. But Voratel's horror was not at defeat. It was at comprehension. You planned this, he breathed. From the beginning. Eleanor inclined her head slightly. We let you take them. The 20 you captured, each carried a neural seed. We needed a demonstration. You used yourselves as bait. As invitations, she corrected. You wouldn't have listened otherwise. He stared at her, trembling. And now, she said, you listen. The Emperor's hologram flickered violently, his voice fractured by static and terror. You think mercy gives you power? Mercy is power, Eleanor replied. It's what you can't replicate, what you'll never comprehend unless you suffer through it. He spat venom. We'll recover. We'll rebuild. Good, she said quietly. You'll rebuild better. Then she turned her attention back to Voratel. Grand Strategist, do you understand what's happening? He nodded weakly. You're infecting the galaxy. No, she whispered. We're waking it up. A moment passed, long enough for the silence to feel sacred. Then her expression hardened, like steel cooled in tears. But make no mistake, if you ever touch another human, if you ever think love is leverage again, this mercy will end. Her image faded from the screen, replaced by a final message. Humanity doesn't conquer. We correct. The Dominion's bridge lights flickered back to normal. Systems rebooted, not under Imperial authority, but under human oversight. The ship's AI greeted them with a calm, unmistakably human voice. Good morning, everyone. Let's try empathy today. Voratel stumbled toward the viewport. Outside, the human fleet was withdrawing, fading one by one into folds of warp space. They left no debris, no radiation, no trophies, only silence, and the faint afterglow of something enormous and kind. He whispered to no one, "What are they?" A trembling ensign answered from behind him. "They're human, sir." The words felt like prayer. As the last of the fleet vanished, the Emperor's signal reappeared, faint and broken. "They've gone," he gasped. "They didn't take a single world." "Why?" Voratel closed his eyes. "Because they didn't come to win. They came to forgive, and that's worse." Across the Empire, the consequences rippled. Soldiers resigned. Worlds began broadcasting in human languages. Children dreamed of blue oceans they'd never seen. And for the first time in its long, cruel history, the Galactic Empire hesitated before issuing an order of war. Days passed. The empathy field slowly diminished, leaving behind the ghost of its warmth. Yet its imprint remained. Even now, Voratel could feel it in his chest, the alien echo of humanity's pulse. He found himself humming the lullaby without realizing it, the same song that had shattered everything. One evening, when he was summoned before the Emperor to discuss reconstruction, he stood taller than before. The Emperor's throne room was silent, stripped of its former grandeur. "Report," the ruler rasped. "Our fleets are recovering," Voratel said. "Our systems are functional. But our soldiers, they hesitate. They ask why before they obey." The Emperor's eyes flared, then purged that hesitation. Voratel met his gaze steadily. "Perhaps we shouldn't. You sound infected." He smiled faintly. "Maybe that's the cure." When he left the chamber, he looked toward the stars, still bruised from battle, still glowing with traces of human light. Somewhere, far beyond reach, he knew they were watching. Not as conquerors, but as caretakers ensuring their lesson endured. Later, as he sat alone in the command deck, the ship's AI spoke gently. "A message was left for you, strategist." He frowned. "From whom?" "Captain Eleanor Drake." A hologram bloomed before him, her face serene, eyes warm. "If you're seeing this, then you survived. That's good. Survival is the first step to understanding. I hope your people learn something beautiful from this. But if they don't, if they forget, remember what you felt when the lullaby played. That was us showing restraint." The image dissolved, leaving a single line of text. "Next time, we won't send mothers. We'll send what raised them." Voratel stared at the words until they blurred, then bowed his head. "Understood," he whispered. Outside, the void pulsed once, like a heartbeat echoing through eternity. The Empire would recover. Yes, but it would never again look at humanity the same way. The storm had passed, leaving the stars quiet, humbled, and forever changed. And somewhere in the distant cradle of blue and green, a planet full of dangerous, gentle monsters exhaled as one. They didn't celebrate, didn't gloat, didn't mark the victory. They simply tucked their children into bed, turned off the lights, and whispered the same words that now haunted every corner of the galaxy. "You captured human women. Congratulations. You just taught the universe what family means."